At 84, after I had buried my wife and outlived nearly every friend I ever had, I sat down one quiet evening and admitted the thing I had hidden my whole long life. There were still 5 people I was carrying, 5 I had never once set down. For years I had hauled them up the hill of my days, some the better part of 50, and I called it love and loyalty and being a good man. But I had let them drain away what little was left of my years, because letting go felt like a sin and holding on felt like being faithful. So this past year I did the hardest and kindest thing I have ever done. One at a time I set all 5 of them down, and the 5th, the one it near killed me to name, was the one nobody in this world ever has the spine to name. I will get to him. But sit with me a while first. Before I begin, let me say the one thing this whole night turns upon. The world we live in now tells you to hold on to everybody. Forgive without end, it says, never close a door, or you are cold, you are the one who failed. But the old ones knew a thing the new world has forgotten. Some doors do not close out of hate. They close to protect the little piece a person has left. You can love someone with your whole heart and still let them go. So come and listen, and do not be frightened if you find one of your own among my 5. The first person I set down was the taker. In my family, that was my brother's boy, a nephew I will call Emmett. Emmett phoned me faithful as the changing seasons, but only ever when the well had run dry. A short rent, a dead truck, a place to lay his head, and the phone would ring, warm as summer, calling me his favorite uncle. And I filled the bucket every time for 15 years and called it family. But not once did that boy call me only to hear my voice, or just to sit a while. My grandmother had a word for it. A man who only comes to your fire when he is cold, she said, and never just to sit with you, is not your friend. He is just cold. The second person I set down was the scorekeeper. Everyone has one, if they live long enough. Mine kept a ledger of every wrong ever done to her and carried it to every supper and holiday and funeral and opened it, a thing I said in anger 30 years back, an apology I had made and made again. She would lay on the table like a bill still owing. And I understood far too late that she did not want the debt paid. Had I paid it in full, she would have had nothing left to hold over me. She wanted me small and a little in her debt forever. A scorekeeper does not collect to be made whole. She collects to own you. Now let me stop here a moment in the middle of my list and say one honest thing before I go on. Everything I came to understand about these 5, I gathered into a small book, so none of it would go into the ground with me. I called it The Native Way. It is resting in the first comment below this video, and in the quiet place underneath, and there is a little code right there on your screen you can scan if your heart is turned that way. There is no hurry in it, and it will cost you nothing tonight. Consider it my gift to you, from one old man who found his way out, to whoever it is that still needs the door. So stay right where you are, because the third person was the tenderest of the 5, and the hardest of all to name. The third person I set down, I did not so much let go of as finally stop waiting for. This is the tenderest of my 5, and the one I am the least proud of, because I gave it the most years by far. There was someone in my life, and I will not say who, only that I loved them dearly, and for the better part of my old age I stood at a window on the inside of my own heart, waiting for them to become the person I needed them to be. Waiting for the apology that was surely coming any day now. Waiting for the change of heart, the turning, the moment they would finally see me and become who I had always known in my bones they could be. Let me tell you about a woman I knew, a neighbor I will call Della, because her story is the one that taught me my own. Della had a daughter who left and did not come back, and Della kept a chair at her front window. And for 8 long years she sat in that chair near every evening, watching the road for a car that never once turned down it. 8 years of good evenings, all of them spent at a window. And one day I understood, with a cold drop in my chest, that I was doing the very same thing she was, only my window was on the inside, where no one could see me sitting at it. My grandmother would have set me straight in a single sentence. "People show you who they are," she used to say. "Believe them the first time, not the 10th time, not the 100th, not the version of them you keep alive by your own hoping. The first time." Setting this person down did not mean I stopped loving them. It meant I finally rose up out of that chair and stopped watching the road and went and lived the evenings I had left. The fourth person I set down was not among the living at all, and that is the strangest thing I will tell you tonight. The fourth was a ghost. When my wife passed, my Ruth, I did the thing the grieving heart most wants to do. I kept her. I kept her side of the bed, made up just so, the exact way she had left it. I kept her cup on its hook. For 2 years I talked to an empty chair at the end of the table as though she were still sitting there in it. And I want to be careful how I say this next part, because grief is a holy thing, and there is nothing at all wrong in a man missing his wife until the day he dies. I miss her yet. I will miss her when I go. But there is a moment, and every widow and every widower alive will know exactly the moment I mean, when the grief stops being a visitor that comes and sits with you a while and starts being a thing that has moved into the house and taken it over. It stops being the shape of how you love her and starts being the very thing keeping you from living, and I could feel it happening to me. I was tending my grief the way I had once tended Ruth herself, and the grief was quietly taking every evening I had left in this world. So one morning I made the bed the plain way, both sides even, and I set one cup on the hook instead of two, and I sat myself down in front of that empty chair, and I told the grief gently, the way you would speak to a dear guest who has stayed on far too long, that it was time now. Not to leave Ruth, never Ruth, only to leave the chair. My grandmother, who buried 2 husbands in her time, told me the truest thing anyone ever told me about it. "The dead do not want a monument," she said. "They want you to go and eat the good food." Ruth never wanted me guarding an empty chair. She wanted me to go on and live the years she herself did not get. And now the 5th, the last one. The one nobody in this whole wide world ever has the spine to name, because it is the hardest name of all to say out loud. The 5th person I finally let go of, at 84, was myself. Not the old man I am tonight, the young one. The young man I had been dragging along behind me for more than 50 years. Long ago, when I was young and did not yet know how few chances a life ever gives a man to be kind, I did a thing I have never once forgiven myself for. I will not lay the whole of it out here for you, because it is mine to carry and not yours to sit in judgment on. But I will tell you, it was the kind of wrong that does not undo, the kind that badly hurt someone I loved, and I have paid for it every quiet night since. Do you understand what I am telling you? For 50 years, every time the house went still and the light went out, I put that young man on trial all over again. I dug him up out of the ground where I had long since buried him, and I stood him in the dock, and I read him his crime, and I found him guilty, one more time, one more night, for half a century. I called that conscience. I truly believed a good man was supposed to punish himself forever and never once let up. It was my grandfather who set me free of it, though he had been gone many years by the time I was finally old enough and quiet enough to hear him. He told me a thing once, when I was only a boy who had done something he was ashamed of, and I have never forgotten it. "You keep digging up a man you already buried," he said. "Let him lie. You told the truth. You took your punishment. You carried it a long, long way. Now forgive the man you told the truth to. He has done his time. Let him out." And at 84, alone in my own kitchen with the kettle going cold, I finally let that young man out. I told him I was sorry. I told him I forgave him. and I let him lie down at last and rest. It was the hardest release of all the 5, and it was the one that handed me back the most years. So let me gather these 5 up now, the way my grandmother gathered her herbs at dusk, a few stems at a time, tied so that nothing is dropped and scattered and lost. There was the taker, who only ever came to my fire when he was cold. There was the scorekeeper, who never wanted the debt paid at all, only wanted me small and in it forever. There was the one I stood at the inside window waiting for, who had already shown me plainly who they were, if only I had believed them the first time. There was the ghost, the grief I had let move in and take the whole house, that I finally asked, gently, to leave the empty chair. And there was the 5th, the young man I had buried 50 years before and kept digging up again every dark night, whom I finally forgave and let lie down in peace. 5 people, some of them living, one of them long dead, and one of them my own self. I do not name my 5 so that you will pity me. I name them because there was a time I had sworn I would carry every one of them to my grave and call it love the whole way down. And here is the thing it took me 84 years upon this earth to see, so I will say it to you as plain as I know how. Letting go is not the opposite of love. It never once was. Sometimes letting go is the very last shape that love can take, when there is nothing left to do but set the weight down so that you can walk the little way that still remains to you. Now I want to turn away from my own 5 and speak for a moment to yours, because you have them. Everyone who has lived long enough has them, and I am not asking you to be cruel, or to slam any door, or to stop loving a single living soul. I am only asking you to notice what it is you are carrying up the hill. Here is a truth an old man knows that a young one simply cannot yet. You have a finite number of evenings left. I do not know your number, and you do not know mine, but it is a real number, and it is smaller than any of us likes to think, and there is no store in all the world where a person can go and buy himself more of them. When you are young, you spend your evenings like a rich man, as though the purse had no bottom in it. When you are as old as I am, you count them the way my mother once counted the last of the cornmeal, and you learn very quickly what is worth the spending. So the question is not who wronged you, and it is not who deserves your forgiveness, and it is not even, in the end, who you love. The question is only this one. Which of the people you are carrying are you still willing to haul up the hill with the evenings you have left? Because every single one you carry is an evening you do not get back. The taker takes them, the scorekeeper takes them, the window takes them, and the empty chair takes them, and the young man on trial takes the most of them of all. You do not have to hate a one of them to set them down. You only have to decide, at last, that your last good years are worth more than the weight of them. If these words sat with you tonight, and if you found even one of your own 5 somewhere among mine, I gathered all of it, the 5 and a good many teachings besides, into that small book, The Native Way. It is waiting for you in the first comment below, and in the quiet place beneath this video, and the little code is right there on your screen, if you would rather simply scan it and let it come to you. There is no hurry in it at all, and no cost to you tonight. It is my gift, from one old man who spent far too long carrying the wrong things, to whoever it is that is ready now to set them down. Take just one of the 5, the one that pressed hardest upon your chest as I spoke it, and sit with it overnight, and let it do its slow and patient work in you, the way the old ones always let everything do its slow work. And before you go, do one small thing for me, where I can see it. Down in the comments, do not name a single soul. Do not tell one story. Do not shame anyone at all. Only leave me a number. Leave a 1 if the person you most need to set down is the taker. A 2 if it is the scorekeeper. A 3 if it is the one you are still standing at that inside window waiting for. A 4 if it is a grief that has moved in and quietly taken your whole house. And a 5 If the one you most need to forgive, the one nobody ever has the spine to name, is your own self, just the number, so that it is spoken out loud one time tonight, and so that everyone else scrolling quietly past can see they are not the only one carrying what they carry. And then stay close, and come and sit with me again by this fire soon. It costs you nothing to find your way back to a place like this, only that you follow the little path down and settle in beside the rest of us. You are one of the people who are learning, at long last, how to set the weight down. And the ones who learn that, even at 84, even at the very end of the road, are never too late and are never, ever truly lost.